In this video I will be demonstrating how to use XNurbs for form finding. So the idea here is to create a concept based on a drawing. So I already prepared a drawing and some curves. The curves are clean, low point count, high degree curves. We will be making these surfaces. Let's take a look at the surfaces in EMAP. So smooth flowing surfaces. Like so. So without further ado, let's dive into that. We'll delete the already made ones. Let's put these on the curves layer. And first of all, we want to create the surface at the front of the body. For this, I will make an extrusion of this curve as a reference edge, and then start my XNurbs. So first of all, we need to select our boundary curves. I'm choosing the surface edge here. For this edge I choose tangency. Then we can activate preview. And by default, XNurbs generates a limit surface, but in this case I want to optimize it for quad-sided. The most important setting here is the flatness control. And for these quad-sided, I generally tend to use one of the latest positions. So choosing this position activates a certain mode where it generates the least amount of control points. Also important to note is that while you can add more accuracy to the surface, since we're building a concept here, I want to keep this a little bit lower. Also because we're drawn out these curves, but they are not necessarily perfect. So giving XNurbs a bit more freedom will make sure that you generate not too many control points in the surface. Another thing to notice is that history is on, and I'll keep that on while generating XNurbs so that you can always edit the surfaces after the creation. So we'll generate this and then start focusing on the lower part of the body where the handle resides. For this I also make an extrusion as a helping surface. Let's move this to their XNurbs, activate XNurbs as a layer and generate a new surface. Again, activating show preview. Choosing this edge and choosing that edge. Now for this edge I want tangency, and for this edge I want to have curvature. Now the reason that you don't get a preview, here it says cannot create surface from input constraints, conflicting constraints. In this case, the conflicting constraint is the fact that I cannot generate a quad-sided surface. So deactivating that. Then for this limit surface, generally those last two positions are the better ones. You can see the difference. So I'll stick for this position for now. As said, we can always later edit that. And I'll hide my helping surfaces. Mirror these along their x-axis. And study the result with zebra. And that already looks quite clean. So let's start with making the top surface. For the top surface, I will mirror this curve also to the other side and make an helping extrusion. And then start building the XNurbs surface. So selecting the edges as contact or position. Same for the curves. Let's activate the preview here. You see that XNurbs already starts making that surface. And now we add the top one, the surface edge. And in this case, I want that to be an internal constraint. Like this. Generate, hide the helping surface. And one thing to notice is that I'm hiding these surfaces instead of deleting, because they're still part of the history relation with these XNurbs. So I don't want to delete them. Again, trying to see what the total result is with these surfaces. It looks already quite clean. But I'm not quite satisfied with the way this is moving along the surface. Also, when looking at the control point structure, XNurbs generally makes a bit more dense surfaces than you normally would expect for high quality surfaces, but it still manages to make very smooth results. So you're not going to do any manual control to the control points, rather you want to influence the surfaces with the settings and your constraints. So let's see if we can simplify the surface by going to edit mode of XNurbs. And in order to smoothen this out, we actually need to give XNurbs a bit more freedom. So let's do that. And then see what the quality slider helps to that. So this already gives a very smooth result. It's much better flow. It's just a matter of trying out what the best flatness setting gives. I think for now I will stick with this one. And that makes the end result a lot smoother, as you can see. Another thing I want to show you is that even after you have created the XNurbs surface, you can still later on add additional constraints. So for example, if I want to influence how this handle behaves at this area, I can also add some control points, or point objects, I have to say. Now these are a copy of these, so once I move these points here, the other ones will move with them to keep these constraints symmetrical. Then I'll go back in my XNurbs edit and add these points as constraints. I choose internal constraints. And then create and add it as zebra again. Now I can start tweaking the surface by simply nudging these points. I use Alt page up, page down for this. So you can see you can make very fine adjustments. And you also notice that at certain settings, XNurbs tends to make a surface that is not very symmetrical anymore. So I prefer to have my surfaces symmetrical as much as possible. So let's keep it here for now. I will be sharing this model on the Rhino user forum at discourse.mcneil.com. The model will include both the drawing, the XNurbs surfaces and the curves, so that you can test it out yourself. If you have any questions, then also please ask on the Rhino user forum. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching.